Gazz, you shake your head there.
You always try and catch us off guard.
I know, yeah, it does it every time. We had 5 seconds to prepare there.
What do you want me to say?
I don't know.
Yeah, how are we doing? That was quite a week. I felt like I was ready for the end of it by Tuesday morning, so it feels a bit mad that it's Friday and we're recording this. It's kind of insane, isn't it?
I think it feels like we've been in a time warp for multiple weeks on this front, and then you come in, we do the Friday podcast, and just about gather our thoughts going into the weekend, and then subsequently it's been every Saturday an absolute nucleus drop. So hopefully a quieter weekend all round, fingers crossed. But it's been a hectic week. I think obviously quite a lot of talking points and things. How you been, Mike?
Do you know what? Like, this week does feel like everything's just merging into one. When we were talking about like what we would talk about this week, I was like, was that still this week? Because it feels like the days just merge and merge. But I'm all right. Like there's been some, I guess, some more positive. With the negative that was last week, there's been some more positive. So I'm okay. I'm good.
Well, let's start with the negative. So, Sunday, Monday, I don't even know. I'll kind of give you the TLDR. I'm sure a lot of people are tuning to this regularly are under no illusions as to what we're going to talk about. But yeah, it was pretty bleak. The whole Libra story. When did that start to come out? We tend to do prep for this show, and as has been known in the past, prep. As has been known in the past, we don't always do a very good job of that. But like yesterday in particular, I'd said to the fellas, I think we can just like riff on this one because, honestly, it was pretty hard not to feel quite nihilistic towards crypto for me. Full transparency, Monday, Tuesday with everything, especially as a major Solana holder, portfolio heavy weighted towards it. So we had the fallout from the Libracoin. We had the Coffeezilla interview with Hayden Davis, who was from Kelsier, who was quite clearly in the crosshairs of this whole mess. There is a story on the site. I'll bring up the screen and share it in a minute before I get the lads' take. If you're truly unaware of what's happened this week, I will give the overview. But before we get into it, what was your gut reactions to it, lads? When we when was it? Was it Monday? Was it Tuesday? Was it Sunday? I don't even know.
It was Friday night because I was saying to you, like we talked about Carl last week, and you said at the end of the podcast, who would be likely to launch token next, and the first name that came out of your mouth was friggin' Argentina.
Yeah.
So you should have put the lottery on, or something, or Polymarket, or whatever else, because later that evening, like lo and behold, what launched? Argentina coin, and I was like, say, I was probably asleep by then, but because it was quite late on. It was I think like 11, maybe 12 p.m. on UK time on Friday, and by Saturday, well, the rest is sort of history because it did a full market cycle in that time.
I'm more kind of talking about the fallout, I suppose. So sorry, just for clarification on the launch Friday, but I mean, what did you think, Gazz, with what we knew so far, sort of as you were maybe trying to scramble to get your head around the information over the weekend?
Yeah, I think as it was pouring out all these details, you kind of got a sense of like there's just everyone knew that there's shenanigans within crypto. Like token launches are always dirty, but this really pulled back and revealed, well, it seems to be quite rotten to the core in terms of like how these are actually launching through like the Meteora pools, etc. And we know you launch anything through pump, you're going to get sniped. But this kind of like, this extraction from somewhat of, would you say, a sophisticated player? I'm not sure. He must be sophisticated. He's pulled out $100 million from this, but like this kind of rotten to the core is what like perpetrated the timeline, because everyone was like, is Solana just a rotten chain here? Like their infrastructure to launch these tokens seems to have been like just all over, just negatively impacted. So I think you've seen this massive risk off from Sol, and hence you're seeing obviously movements into these other chains. What are you going to say, Mike?
Yeah, I think it's like the intricacy of what's come to light. So like obviously Friday, like not much of that was known. And obviously throughout the week, more has come to light in terms of like the implications across I guess the playing field in terms of who's potentially been involved, like how it's all sort of been playing out from behind closed doors for a long time, not just Libra in isolation, but a lot of other tokens that have launched over the last 3 months. And I guess it was what we were saying last week in terms of the games sort of being found out over time. And then this is sort of like bottom of the barrel execution in terms of what people are willing to do to extract value from Solana in terms of launching these tokens. Are you surprised, like, in terms of this has happened? Like, I'm not. Like, it always happens in a cycle. It usually happens towards the end of a cycle where like it gets as bleak as it has been, but I'm not surprised that people have taken advantage, and it's just, I guess, when it's the leader of a bloody country and the implications of that's complete insanity in it, really.
Yeah. It's I also think important to know, as you say, guys, people leaving Sol, you had this massive, can we call it a sort of black swan event? Like maybe not so that extreme really, but it definitely felt like the emotion on the timeline suggested that the reaction was similar to that of when we've seen FTX implosion, shit like that.
Comparisons.
So maybe black swan is too strong, but it's certain. Look, we felt the earthquake, and to add to that, obviously we've had this lingering Solana unlock thing that the repayment started this week. 563 did a good segment on that on Round Trippers for anyone who's a meal deal member, I should say, on like what that means. And then I believe it's the 1st of March anyway that you've kind of got the big bucks coming. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I know you're on that one. So I think that you've had this awful collision of total catastrophe mixed with that, and people have just been spooked. Obviously, we've seen a bit of a bounce, a little bit of relief in the past 24 hours or so, but yeah, hasn't been nice. So I'm gonna pull up the story because then it'll be easier to kind of go back to it. So Lavina did like a really good, I guess, a sort of different kind of news angle of what we usually do, and took a more investigative approach as to what happened to Argentinian President's Libra crypto token. So if you're unaware, Javier Milei is the president of Argentina and also president of the Oasis fan club, probably into Paul Weller and the Jam and stuff as well, I suspect. I don't know if that's true. Just taking the piss. But basically, I'll go through as top line as possible to give a little bit more colour to everything that unravelled on the back of it. So the launch of Libra was a disaster, to say the least. It was endorsed by the Argentine president, Javier Milei. And then he had tweeted, "This is a private project dedicated to encouraging the growth of the Argentine economy. The Libra team has cashed out 107 mil, 8 wallets. This was Look on Chain, sorry. Cashed out 107 mil, 8 wallets related to the Libra team have obtained 57.6 mil and 671,000 Sol. That's 49.7 mil at the time of writing. But adding liquidity, removing and claiming fees." So the token launched, he endorsed it, and then he basically shit the bed, I guess, and then claimed to have nothing to do with it publicly. And then when it all started unraveling, we learned that there was definitely more to it. There was a team, which is where it starts to get really, really messy with Kelsia and Kelsia Ventures, Kip, everything else. Then I'm going to get onto Jupiter and Meteora. So when he kind of pulled back and said, "I didn't promote it, what I did was spread the word," obviously boldly put this piss take cartoon because that's just obscene. But it very, very quickly came out into light that Kip was this Web3 company, builds AI payment infra, and then you had multiple stakeholders, Kip and also the Kelsia guys, Hayden Davis, who I'm going to get onto, who were then apparently leading the project as far as that, I guess, like the tokenomics, go to market, all this kind of thing. And then it became a game of no one wanting to take the blame, all sorts of fingers being pointed at insider stuff in relation to Jupiter, Meteora. We've had statements coming out left, right, and centre. In the essence of time, I'm going to just encourage you that you go on and read this story if you've been under a rock, obviously. And yeah, it just kind of got a little bit crazy. Then we had this personality come out from beyond the rock, which was Hayden Davis, who basically came out and said, "This is me. This is my face." Gave a statement. I'm rattling through this as quick as I can. Gave a statement basically to what I believe thought was the right move, to say, "Hey, I'm the guy with the 100 mil. What should I do?" I'm laughing because it's so obscene. And from there, we moved into Coffeezilla, which, if you don't know, Coffeezilla is a kind of prominent YouTuber. He does a lot of expose content, not necessarily specific to crypto, but he covers a lot of crypto because we tend to have quite a lot of expose material for him to get his teeth into. And he posted, I don't know how else to put it other than a bombshell interview, really. I don't know about you two. I watched every minute in sort of disbelief, where Hayden proceeded to go on and, I guess, hang out everybody's dirty laundry on the mechanics of how you launch a meme coin and how everything is rugged. He called everything in crypto a load of shit. He said that every meme coin was basically shit and you shouldn't be getting involved if you don't know what you're into, which obviously NFA and all that kind of thing. But it was just a bit of a mess. That's enough for me talking. Did you lads watch the interview? What did you think of what came on the back of it?
I think watching the interview, I was absolutely stunned at how he put a target on his head. Like, why would you admit you were the sole custodian of $100 million? Like, that must set off alarm bells for some nasty people to go, let's track this guy down ASAP. Like, it's a crazy statement to make on such a public platform. I thought that was wild. And then he's almost like put Trump into it, stating people were able to buy into the Trump token, like pre-sale almost, at an event in Washington. And those kind of things, like, he had no backup to that one because Coffeezilla pressed on that and he was like, I've heard this is something that's occurred. Not that he had personally been involved with that, but like, I was like, you can't say these things on this platform and have zero repercussions. You're like, he's admitted to like numerous felonies, I think. And then he's like also 14. Just dropping people in it. And you're just like, you're going to get Clinton if he says things like this. Like, yeah, it's a bad look.
It was complete admission of like guilt and like, and why you would ever think that was a good idea in terms of what he did there. Is it naivety? Is it stupidity? Is it what like, how can you think that doesn't then have repercussions after you've done that? And you know it's going to go live. You know a lot of people are going to see it. So and like some of the stuff he was saying in terms of all like this insider game, and obviously off the back of that, there were certain tweets from certain people saying like, if you're not an insider, then what the fuck are you doing? If you've been in the game like 4 years, and I know there's some sort of, I guess it was a bit of jest in that, but it didn't land well on the timeline either, because again, it's just this maximum peak value extraction. And it's already been heading, obviously, after the Trump coin and stuff like that. The sort of hate towards the timeline in terms of certain like individuals was already starting to rear its head. So this is sort of like, I guess, like the peak of that.
People were hungry for a crucifixion anyway, weren't
they? Yeah.
And then, Hayden Davis said. So on the back of that as well, I mean, it's crazy. Some of it, I've been following Coffeezilla. Hayden offered him to be added to the multi-sig, like Coffeezilla, and Coffeezilla kind of obviously came out and said, absolutely not. Why would I want pulling into this? But the point that he kept sort of trying to reiterate and consistently contradict himself on is he didn't want any part of it. He then said that Millet had no idea what he was doing with crypto, which would then beg the question, well, if you guys are on the advisory team, what's happened there then? Then he also said, as I've already kind of previously said, I think there's actually a quote in the story here, so I don't want to misquote anyone. I'll paraphrase. It was an open secret in Memecoin circles that an Argentina coin was going to launch at some point. These tweets and quotes are pulled from Twitter. You can find it all in the story on blockmates.com. And Hayden himself had made a quote that essentially said, again, paraphrasing, read the story, was that every single meme coin goes this way. This is the quote. Every single one of these launches, that's what happens. 3 to 10 guys get these massive chunks. And there was a particular point in which he admitted to sniping the contract. And Coffeezilla asked him the question, do you not think it's unfair that if you're launching a project that you shouldn't be able to therefore snipe the contract given you're going to know? And he said no. He thought that was fair, which was kind of like one of the hammer down moments, really. So yeah, fucking crazy, to be honest. And then it's not a rug, it's a plan gone massively wrong, is another one he said. I mean, there are so many quotes from this thing. We could spend literally the whole episode and beyond what we normally do talking about it. So yeah, and then as you kind of alluded to, Gazz or Mike, I forget who said it now, then he unearthed the whole Melania thing and then started alluding to what we believe to be the crypto ball being offered around to Trump. So yeah, sentiment couldn't have possibly been worse, could it, this week?
No, I think he created that final crescendo around, hopefully, fingers crossed anyway, the whole, it's not like these were meme tokens per se. They're just value extractive tokens. I know you could say all memes are like that, but like there was nothing amusing or mimetic about these tokens.
Yeah.
Like if you think about what a meme
just for
coin is.
Listeners, guys, can you give an example of like, if I had to give you
an actual meme coin though would be something like your Pepe's. Like that's an obvious standout meme that people have been sending to each other via text on the internet for years and years and years. So it has that mimetic and virality around it already. It's got a lot of lore around it with internet culture, whereas someone spins up a token, ticker LIBRA, and it's about the Argentinian economy. Like there's no mimetic around that whatsoever. That's just a pure grift. And I honestly think with this one, it overshot their expectations. And so they didn't realize that they would be able to pull out this much money and it would create such a huge hoo-ha around it. I think if they just did like the $10 million market cap up and down and they extracted a few $100K a piece, I think they would have been happy with that. But he's stuck with $100 million, a target on his head, and a lot of fucking people after him now. So I think it actually did too well.
You had loads of people like full stacking the pot into it. Like I know some of them might have been just like, but across the timeline, there was people that said they've lost X amount of money, and it was like the full portfolio, and like again, obviously that's questioning in itself in terms of like risk versus reward and what you're putting into something with no inherent value. But like I guess the draw as well is because it's such a public figure, as in a president of a country like Argentina as well, which has obviously drawn eyes to it. It's sort of blown up. Like I guess there's always been, I guess, undertones of insider players and people getting favorable entry in terms of coins, and I guess that's always been a thing. But to sort of go on and inadvertently just say that on a public forum is a sort of crypto first, I would say, in such of like a blatant brazen way in terms of how he delivered that, like he wasn't in the wrong. And I just think that is complete naivety. I think there was a post and he's very new to crypto, so it's like 2022. I think he was slinging Pokemon cards or some shit. There was something he was slinging.
Hayden Davis, you mean?
Yeah, Hayden Davis. He was slinging before he got this, before where he is now and today. But I also like, it's like, again, this is what I've been saying the last couple of weeks. It's sort of that cleansing moment of.
Well, kind of interesting you say that, because that was going to be the next point I was gonna. But before we move on from it, I'm curious to know, because there's obviously, I'll just bring this back up. Towards the end, it's like the obvious question would be, well, kind of what comes next here. So for the $100 million that Davis is in control of now, he has publicly said multiple times, like, tell me what to do with this money. He did also say, well, it's my leverage. So, but he also said, tell me what to do with it. So he's proposed he'd either refund investors based on transaction history, re-inject the funds into the Libra market, donate the funds to an Argentine non-profit. If the refund option is chosen, then here's what you can roughly expect as per Zeta Markets Tristan estimates. Despite total realized losses on Libra adding up to a whopping $340 million, refunding the $110 million would actually make $90,672 or at whole, over 99% of those who lost money on this ill-fated meme coin. The average refund size comes out to about 1.2k, and all traders who lost less than 58k would get their funds back. I'm kind of glad that no one here is in the position to have to make a decision on this kind of thing. But how do you fix this?
You can't. Like, you can't change it because you don't know at them any one timestamp or point in time whether someone's bought and sold, bought and sold at a loss, bought and sold at a gain. So how can you fairly distribute that money at that point? You can't. You can have a go, but you can't turn back time.
And to play devil's advocate, in light of the amount of people I've seen no crying in the casino across the timeline this week for multiple reasons, I know there were lots of influencers and streamers pulled into this. I'm not even going to go into that and mention them. But what is the counter argument to people who are full stacking? Because one of the things that he said in the interview was, why are you full stacking a meme coin anyway? Which, look, clearly the guy hasn't got a comms advisor or legal advice or anything like that. But is there an argument for that as to kind of, we're talking about refunding, but like,
I think this is where it's like, there's a difference between it being a fair market and you being able to play the casino. Yeah, he's got a point. Like, why are you full stacking stuff? That's insanity again. But when Solana sort of started building off like 2 years ago, there was a bit more of a fair game to be played in terms of even though when you get into. But like, we've also said there's also been, like, say from the Trump coin, there's been new entrants to the casino in terms of through Trump. So
are they still here?
Yeah, are they? But like, if there are people that are new to this, it's got the same flavor as the Trump coin. Like, it's a big backing from a celebrity, so it doesn't have the memetic value, and you don't know who has bought this coin. You also can't quantify that. So for me, there's a difference between the meme casino and like a fair game being played and what has been happening over the last 3 months and the tokens that have been launched.
Gazz?
I think he just spins up Libra too.
Yeah, there you go. That's what Gazz thinks. Spin up Libra 2.
Well, someone else
no, don't
like
spin up Libra 2. I'll do whatever you want. Nobody care. What do we know? But look, on the back of that, who knows where memes go from here, by the way. But we also, well, yes, it's been a bit of a mess in the trenches this week anyway. But from all the garbage, this is why this week has been so crazy. From all the despair on the timeline and everything in the fallout on the back of this shit, we actually seem to be entering utility season. Maybe is the term that I've seen some people push, and some real strong performers. Sonic has been blowing people away with the DeFi, as in FAI arena, going over there. I don't have CoinGecko at hand. I don't even know how much it's up in the past 7 days. If anyone could check that out. We've also seen the Kaito airdrop, which we can get onto as well. Berachain is picking up speed again, and IP Story Protocol has been flying at. I think that was like 98% up or something crazy since we talked about it on the pod the other week after Grant's interview with Jason. So not all hope is lost. And as you sort of said, Mike, have we had a bit of a washout, and do we have a little bit of kind of return to? I daren't even say like normality, because like I don't know what's been normal these past 18 months, but yeah, you see the point I'm trying to make.
That is the normality that we know though from last cycle. Like, with like DeFi projects in terms of rotations into certain chains and seeing the limelight, like you've seen it with Sonic. Obviously, off the back of that, you have like your open betas, so certain exchanges on there and products popping off for like their own innovations. I think like prime example of that is say like Shadow and Sonic has been printing more money than I think it printed more money yesterday than Ethereum. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure there was a stat or something insane like that in terms of fees. It printed like $300 million on Sonic. And you obviously seen the rotation into betas like that, and seeing like significant upside. I think it's up with like I think it was up from like say $10 to like $186 on Shadow, which is insane. And that's sort of not normal, but as in the normality that we've known in 2021 and DeFi summer and everything like that. That is sort of the nice normality of, I guess, some sort of reasoning and sense and logic in terms of why people are buying things and certain tokens and narratives that are at play. So yeah, it's a bit of relief for me. Not that I've bought much, but
yeah, I'm trying to back up your claim, Mike, because I know it was Andre had quote tweeted it with the fees on. There's a nice little Andre retweet from Grant on the fee monetization there. But Andre's relentless at the minute with his retweets. He's very, very excited that Sonic is flying.
He did apologize for that as well.
Did he? as they should be. But I can't actually find the tweet I'm looking for because, as you can see, it's there's loads. But the bottom line is to kind of give a bit more colour to the shadow point that Mike's making there. Birdmania, who does a lot of the events with Sonic, I just skimmed past his tweet. He tweeted on the 6th. So my free airdrop of Shadow from holding a couple of derp NFTs is now worth $1,850. Not bad in a week in hell from the trenches, Sonic. And then he quote tweeted again, now worth $7,370. So some good shit going on with Sonic. And just to give us yet another like plug, we've been covering it. It's been there. Have you been staying close to it, guys? What do you think, or have you not really? I know we talked about Sonic a lot the back end of last year, and it feels like those conversations are kind of coming to the forefront now.
I think quite a few of us have pointed out that recently you'd seen the TVL on Sonic absolutely skyrocket
to 650 million.
Yeah, some really big numbers. And it was just like, something's brewing. You had murmurings, obviously. Andre coming back on the timeline, being more vocal. Danny then has come back in and chucked his weight in full force as well and been pumping the WAGMI and Hey and On charts like crazy. So I think it's just taken a bit of that momentum shift, and they're absolutely running with things right now. So like what you've had is Sol with the biggest, most telegraphed unlocks of all time coming out. So people were looking for rotation away. Yeah. You've got, on top of that, the bad news around what we've just covered with all the crime. So people had an excuse to obviously dump their salt and look elsewhere. BNB fumbled with 3 broccolis launching on Binance, so people were pissed off. And then you've got the viable chains that remain that you can actually do shit on are what? Hyperliquids, you can argue Sonic as well. After that, you're scraping the barrel a bit. Like there's not.
Oh yeah, even like base. So like base, like obviously like with the whole virtual sort of scenario and that, and the
which has been cleared up.
But then on that what you just brought up there, Al, there was a tweet that you scrolled past, and it showed the actual inflows from other chains to Sonic, and they've been massive.
Right, I pulled up DeFi Llama there because we tweeted. When we did our like report on Sonic, which was on the 12th of Feb, when I did those comms, I was on DeFi Llama. We used the screen grab, and the TVL at that point, so like last week, was 368 mil, and yeah, as you say now, Gazz, it's 689 mil. So there's a lot to be said as well about the fee monetization thing and like the incentivization for devs to build on the network.
I think it's taken because we've gone back to thinking mode as well. With Sonic and like say like Berachain in terms of like the launch and there was a lot of like grave dancing, and I think it's like because I think it's took the timeline or people time to actually understand what has been built. So like for Sonic, obviously in terms of like the launch, there's a couple of bits and pieces with like obviously the centralized exchanges and it sort of saw that retrace from where it did. Obviously, it's rocketed back up, like recovery wise, it's insane, really, in terms of the last few days. And same with Bera, like people not understanding, like this isn't everything to come, and not actually, and not, and is it opportunity cost, as in people going, oh, but there isn't that much opportunity at the moment.
I think though as well, Mike, because of this washout and nature healing, people haven't give a fuck about anything else other than dog shit. So now all the shit is being cleaned up in the garden. They're going, oh well, what else is? Where's the opportunity? And it's you've got this like real healthy timeline. Like, look, we've all been guilty of playing into the meme things. It's been fun as hell this cycle in the casino. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to dwell on this anymore. Berachain as well, Gazz. Can you, give me your thoughts on that at the minute? I know you've been big in it.
The thing with Bera was like, you had the initial. What we've actually seen recently is anything that's been airdropped with these. Like, we've had good projects come out recently, and you've had the typical pattern of the airdrop dumpers coming in and nuking the chart straight away. But we've actually seen a bit of a shift here in that they've been punished very quickly by a lot of these protocols within
Everyone.
a few days. Yeah, but as you say, they're all turning around quickly. So that is, as you've mentioned, the brain rot of new protocol is shit, which was probably like in 2024 a decent like outlook to have. Get your airdrop, dump it, don't look back. But we are seeing a shift now, and you've actually got good innovative protocols coming out. And although they've had that initial pull down, they've now started to rip as we've seen the fundamentals come back into play. And they're all doing stuff that is new. You got new narratives, new playgrounds, new innovations. And as you, to piggyback off Sonic with huge TVL, fuckload of TVL on Bera as well. So you've actually got liquid environments to play on. Whereas some of the kind of alt L1s you could go on to haven't really got that. So these guys have got, I would say Sonic and Bera have a really good chance here to actually really capitalize on this from here, because the money's there, and that will attract more people into the playgrounds as well. So you can just see those charts if you pulled them up. Like they're pretty crazy to see now that you've had the grave dance and then people have just been washed out from that. So I like that dynamic.
I think Grant tweeted it, and it was like Kaito yesterday that started like that at its initial dump and started ripping. IP was the same. I think they had some like airdrops, didn't they, for Story, and then that's obviously ripped as well. Berachain seems to like same again. It seems to have bottomed out at that sort of like $5, $6 range, and now it was up at like $8.50, $8.70 when I last looked. So the charts don't look bad, and then it's with obviously Sonic, Jesus Christ, it was down at like 30 cents, and it was hit $1 last night. So
if anyone's sneaking Limmy onto crypto Twitter, I'm all for it. In fact, I'm going to give you a like there just for that one. Yankee Ruin X. That's class. But yeah, I feel quite refreshed even from hearing that side of the conversation. So the last thing, so we don't drag on too long, is Kaito. I don't know what we're supposed to pronounce it this side of the ocean. But so I have a lot to say about Kaito. I don't have time to say it all. I think it is one of the best products that's come to market in this industry, from like a tech and the way it. How do I put this? The way it's been built as an actual valuable tool that you can use, especially if you work in this industry from a professional point of view, whether you're a founder, whether you're a marketer, it's astounding. The team's great. We know them. We met them in Bangkok. We've probably going to get them on the podcast in the next few weeks. And if you're unsure, basically, Kaito delves in. It's like a social media tool across CT, because we all live on there, and it'll tell you kind of. It's basically exists to expose LARPs, but the Yap campaign was launched when the token was kind of started to be floated, and then what quickly happened is the timeline became obsessed with farming Yaps, as people tend to with any airdrop, and it became evident very, very quickly that most people actually didn't know what the product was. They were just talking about farming yaps, and then they didn't even know how to effectively farm the yaps, which in turn created them this horrible flywheel of yapping more to provide less value to flood the timeline with dog shit, to the point that people have been tweeting, wonder what Kaito's PMF's going to be after airdrop, which I just can't. I don't have time to riff on that for that long. But it has gone live this week. And yeah, you've had some people whinging, some people over the moon, as we get with airdrops. Have you stayed close to it, lads?
It wasn't flat, was it? That's why. Because people just correlated yaps directly with how many tokens they would get, but it wasn't. There was some sort of skewed, I guess, way of how they were going to distribute, because it was based on like smart followers and different metrics to get your actual number of Kaito versus your yaps. It wasn't just like 10-to-1 ratio or whatever when it came out. So I think, and obviously in terms of supply, people were speculating on how much would be in circulation. I think it was only like 10% was in circulation. So the actual value of a yap was, I think, on the low end of some of like the moon math that people had been doing.
Wouldn't be the first time, would it?
But yeah, I've seen a range of what people have got. Some people happy, some people not. Every single airdrop, people are going to whinge, because they're clearly entitled to every airdrop and maximum value out of that airdrop because they've participated.
Just to back up what you're saying here, Mike. Yeah, the initial airdrop only 10% split between yaps, NFT holders, and the wider community. However, there'll be future airdrop campaigns too, with 7.5 set aside for long-term creators, which you himself, who is the founder of Kaito, has said multiple times, focus on personal brand building, forget about yaps, and you will therefore get the rewards. That's the entire reason Kaito was built as a platform. And this comment, like Levine has obviously put, community members feel Kato's tokenomics are 9/11 for everyone who thought they could retire just by tweeting. Yeah, guys, any final thoughts before we sort of wrap this one?
Yeah, it seemed like you got the Band-Aid ripped off pretty sharpish with that one yesterday. Like the dumpage was pretty evident, so that was a good thing to see. You also saw the Kaito team have swept their own Genesis NFT floor as well with their royalty revs. So I think they're priced at like 2.4, 2.5 ETH. They might actually be worth picking up because they've said that NFTs and Kaito stakers will get priority access to everything we do in the future. So like they're going to bring out new products. Obviously, this is probably the start for Kaito, not so much like token was extractive. This is the end. They're going to be building out more cool shit. I think it makes a lot of sense from my perspective, at least, to actually stake the airdrop, which I'll be doing today. I didn't claim yesterday. I knew people were going to cheat it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to sell this one short, because I think you've got a brand new narrative, a team that have shown that they are able to ship and bring out a really good product. Obviously, quite an expensive subscription for the boys, but it's been classed to be able to analyze that on a weekly basis. The boys bring it up on round trippers every week, and you can just see where the money's heading due to the mindshare. And you can see, if you can spot the kind of like anomalies as they progress. Like I think back in January, DeFi and AI were both trending, and then you had the new category of DeFi AI come out. And if you got on early to that and you noticed those things, there was big multiples to be made. So I think it's a valuable resource. They're going to be adding more utility, and I think it makes sense to be in at the ground level here. So I'll be staking my airdrop.
Yeah. So final point, I think reading between the lines on Corby, I think he also had his fill of hearing about it. He posted, pedophiles on this app are communicating with each other using the term yap, young-aged person. Please be aware of anyone attempting to buy and sell yaps and do not interact with them. Online safety is important. I've been laughing the other day. But yeah, cheers, fellas. I'm going to wrap that there. I've been told that I need to tell you to like and subscribe, which hurts me to the core to say that. I feel like Stephen Bartlett. Might do like a segment at the start saying, before we get into the podcast, it shows us that 30% of the people who listen to this podcast do not like and subscribe. But yeah, if you can, give us a rating on Spotify and whatnot. Yeah. We'll see you next week. I won't.
No bad feedback.
Yeah. Don't say nasty things. All right, everyone. Nice one, fellas.
Cheers.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Quick one, nothing here is financial advice. It's for entertainment and educational purposes only. Always do your own research or speak to a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.